This weekend, Ryan sees far less in Fargo, Andy goes under the sea, and we rumble in the NES ring. I'm Ryan,
I'm Andy.
and this is Weekend Rental, episode 171. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. And, I don't know, I feel like I'm always like, hey, we're back, but I got a fun story time for everyone here.
Yeah.
This is gonna be good. This is a nail biter, especially for you family people out there. So I feel like as much as we're like a gaming and pop culture podcast, we're mostly like a buddy family man podcast. And I have a family man story for all of you. So since the last recording, there was an evening, a couple days after the last recording, an incident, if you will. I'm sitting in my living room. It's bedtime for my family. They all go to bed around, 9:30. I'm a man, so I stay up sometimes. Mostly I don't. I go to bed at 9:30 too. But my daughter comes up and is in my living room while I'm watching TV. And then she's like, good night, Dad. And I look and I see a drop of blood on the floor. Like, what's that? And then before I could say, what's that again, there's another drop of blood on the floor, right? And I realize she's bleeding from her hand. And I'm like, hey, maybe stop doing that. Go to the sink. You know what I mean? And my wife is still up, about ready to go to bed. And she runs over to the sink with her. And I was like, that's weird. I don't know what happened. So they're dealing with that. I'm cleaning the blood off the floor before the dog eats it because he's a sick fuck. Yeah. And my daughter's like, hey, Dad, Mom's about to faint. I'm like, yep, that's funny. Because my wife doesn't faint. Like, I'm the person in the family that, like, can't handle puke, can't handle poop, can't handle blood. I typically. So I'm like, yeah, that's great. I'm like not paying attention. About 30 seconds later, bam, my wife faints. Head bounces off the hardwood floor we have.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what the fuck? I immediately run over to scoop her up off the floor. I just spilled, while I was telling the story, stuff all over my gaming consoles, but that's great. And I don't know what to do. Like, my wife has never been like intimidated by like any of that stuff or like affected by any of it. So I immediately run over, scoop her head up, and I'm like, oh my God, like, are you okay? Or, she's not coming to. So I grab her under the shoulders. I like do the thing where I'm like, I'm going to pull her to the couch, right? Like, I don't know why the couch in my mind is like, this is going to be great. Pull her to the couch. She's fine. So we have laminate floors and hardwood floors, and I'm in socks. So I try to pick her up, and I pull her a little bit, but I also fall. And then at that time when I stumble with her in my arms, she just yells. Well, she doesn't yell. She just looks at me and says, you're not helping. And I'm like, okay, my wife's fine. Like, sarcastic comment noted. I'm an idiot. So then I kind of like you sit up, fetal position. Then I go to my daughter. I'm like, what is going on here? So she's like, I cut my finger. I'm like, okay, I get that. She's like, it's not so bad, right? And I'm like, she shows me like the side of her finger. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I'll get some steri strips. I think we got this. So run to the bathroom, get steri strips, get bandages. And I come back and I realize I'm steri stripping one half of a cut because she has taken scissors and fully scissored the middle half of her like middle finger.
Oh.
And I am like, I cannot stop this. Like, I cannot stop this blood loss. I'm sorry to tell you this needs stitches. And that's when she loses it, because that had been her like MO all along, was like, she knew she needed something, but was not willing to, didn't want to alert us to the fact that she probably needed stitches. Right.
Yeah.
So I grab a bunch of like paper towels, wrap it around, get what bandages we have. I like build a big wad. In the meantime, my wife has come to, grabs my daughter and runs out the door. And I'm like, all right. And this is all happening like after 9:00 at night on a weeknight. And then like they're gone, and I'm like, all right, that's gonna solve itself. And then I'm thinking in my head like, what if what if my wife's concussed? Like she ate shit real hard, like bounced her head off the floor. I'm like, I probably should have been the one to go. Like, I mean, granted, somebody did stay home. We have 2 kids. One of them is still at home. Slept through the whole thing, by the way, amazingly. And I'm like freaking out. So I start texting my wife, and she's got, her phone connects to her car. Like this will be easy. I'll call. I call like 12 times. Nothing. No response. So it's about 15 minutes later. I'm freaking out. So I start calling the hospitals, like in the ER. I was like, is this person there? And they're like, who the fuck is this? I'm like, I'm the husband. And finally, one of the guys is like, yeah, they just checked in. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm probably like on a wife beater list somewhere, but I don't care. So several stitches, no finger loss, muscle damage, or nerve damage later. But one hell of a night. I mean,
Wow.
yeah. Kind of feel like an asshole because my daughter was like, well, she's fainting, but my wife is never fainting. Any of that has never been in the picture. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, what a wild night.
Yeah, I wonder what causes that right away, because usually that does, like, it's probably because it was, somewhat bad, right? That's what.
It was pretty. Yeah, it was not great. I will say it was quite the cut.
Yeah, which is probably part of it.
Yeah, but yeah, it was fun.
I don't know if fun would be the way I would describe that, but
Nobody got any sleep. It was like 1 a.m. when everyone got back because, it's an American hospital. So you go there, you check in, you sit there for 45 fucking minutes. You wait for 45 fucking minutes once they let you in. And then, God knows what the bill will be yet. Certainly over $1,000, which is fine.
yeah.
Well, not fine, but for, you know what I mean? Like it's fine. Like as long as everybody's okay. But yeah, wild night. It's weird that I'm the person who can't deal with most things, but like deep tissue cuts and like severe blood loss. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Dad's got that. Poop in your pants.
No.
I'm incapable. I'm in fetal position in the corner, but
for the record, that would have been the same thing I would have done, is try to take my wife over to the couch in that situation. Which then it's like you hope nobody can like look through a window and you dragging your wife's dead, like, lifeless body across the floor.
Yeah. I just love that, like, in her emerging consciousness, she's still enough, like, alert enough to like give me shit. Like, you were not helping. Got it. Noted. And she's like, so the next day she's like, I can't believe you like fell over. I'm like, I must be like a big fat ass. I was like, have you ever drug a limpless body? Like it is so much harder than you pretend it would be. Like, yeah, it was great.
Huh.
So that was our fun since episode 170, I guess. Anything remotely that exciting?
Nothing like that around our house. Yeah. No.
It's unfortunate. You should experience it. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, we occasionally still have to deal with poop, so there's still some of that where somebody's got to do it. But
poop is hard to avoid. Oh, sorry. Moving stuff around.
Yeah, are your consoles okay?
I mean, it's mostly my controllers. They're mostly in bags, but now I'm realizing that not enough of them are in bags, and I've spilled stuff all over several, mostly Wii controllers. Oh, the Dreamcast Black Sega Sports controller. That's a problem. I'll be all right. I think we're good. Mostly just my thigh now is wet from
whatever drink. Yeah,
the drink that I spilled. So yeah, we're okay. I'll survive.
Yeah. Well, we're recording this later than we usually did
Yeah.
because we're like, oh, Xbox is gonna gonna change the landscape of gaming, right? Like they were
Or their
rumor was
landscape.
yeah, they were gonna bow out and everything was gonna change after this. So we're like, let's record Thursday so we're not like instantly out of date when the podcast goes up. And that was a bad idea because nothing really happened.
Well, I mean, yes and no, right? Like, we know that Diablo 4 is coming to Game Pass on March 28th.
Hmm.
That's a big win. And we also know that 4 unnamed titles, which are most likely Hi Fi Rush, what are the other
Sea of
ones? Sea
Thieves,
of Thieves,
Pentiment,
Grounded,
yeah,
and
Pentiment, yeah.
Pentiment. Yeah.
Which
Or,
those are all like, I mean, other than Sea of Thieves, they're all kind of like lower,
but
kind of their indie B side,
here's my
right?
takeaway, though, from that. Like, and what Phil Spencer is not saying is even in this announcement, they have utterly shaken consumer confidence in buying an Xbox, in my opinion. But the reality is like when you kind of like do the math, $70 billion into the largest third party publishers on the platform is a significant investment. And when you realize that Xbox and the studios that they already owned have zero IPs with any real value at this point, including Xbox or including Halo
Hmm.
and Gears of War, like the writing is on the wall that even if you put out the game of the year on an Xbox console, it does not have a user base large enough to justify the revenue spend. They are going to have to go third party if they want to recoup their investment.
Yeah, especially on the big things that they've been buying too, like
Right.
they did say Starfield is going to stay on, it's not going to PlayStation 5 or
But
something,
nobody gives a shit because
right? But that was surprising to me. I thought for sure that was the one that we're like, oh, that did not meet expectations and we need to make money back on that thing.
yeah.
So I thought that would be the one that went, but I guess not.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see them doing a Sega move. Like I know they want to do a games for service. They want to be the first Netflix for games. And they largely have been, but if you're cannibalizing your first party IPs and you're not going to hold Blizzard and Activision beyond Call of Duty close to the chest, then you have to admit you are a third party publisher, which is there's no shame in that. I would argue that over the last 15 years, nobody has really looked at Xbox as a major competitor, right? Like the one was a failure. The series
Hmm.
games have the series consoles. The Series S has good market penetration, but the Series X, which is their true next gen console, has poor market penetration.
Yeah.
So they've basically succeeded on continuing to sell their last gen console, which didn't sell during its own gen, which is a weird thing.
Yeah. And the whole digital to physical thing too has something to play in this where they are kind of, if they are going all digital, it kind of does become a more of a, it feels more like a Netflix style of, the Game Pass. They've been trying to get that on Nintendo for forever,
Yeah.
like a streaming thing on Nintendo, right? And so like none of this seems like a huge surprise to me, but
Yeah, but it
uh,
was also like led up to be this big earth shattering thing. And like all Phil did was like acknowledge rumors. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
just but the rumors were much bigger than that. And well, here's my hot take on that. I think Sony did them a huge favor by I think it was yesterday saying like, Yeah, sales of the PS5 are kind of not where we wanted them to be, and we viewed in the back half of its life already, and there is no Sony first party big budget game coming out this year. So it's like
Yeah.
if
All
I
the
was
while
Xbox, I would
talking
be
about how their console is it's out to pasture. And it's like, let's not retire. It, it almost makes the Wii U's failure a slam dunk in the Switch's favor. Like Nintendo nailed the pre pandemic restrictions of technology and had the perfect awkward console launch where Xbox and PlayStation have like, I know that these consoles have been out since the pandemic, but as far as I'm concerned and most people are concerned, like they haven't started. And PlayStation coming out and saying
Mhm.
like, yeah, we're over, like we're in the sunset years. It's like, for what? You
Yeah.
released two Spider-Man games? Fuck off. Like you didn't do shit.
Yeah, it really feels, especially with the PS4, having they've really dragged that on to be
Right.
just does not feel like it's a new generation. We might be in the first year, that's what it feels like.
Yes.
And yeah, we're already there. Um, but I mean, Sony does that. I wonder if Xbox at the very last second was like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe exclusives might be a good, the big exclusives might be good," when Sony's like saying they don't even have one for this year.
But the sad part is like Nintendo doesn't or Xbox doesn't either. Because
No, that's
Halo's dead, Gears is dead. So their exclusives would have to be their larger third party acquisitions in the last few years.
mhm.
And Bethesda doesn't have anything ready to go.
I wonder if
Activision,
that Fable game might come out, but I don't think that's, like, gonna break any records either.
yeah, I've never felt like Fable was like a big table turner.
No.
Um, Blizzard and there's just we're in a weird spot. And I think the right answer is get a gaming PC,
Mhm.
to be
Pretty much.
honest. But
I
yeah, I could fully see Xbox as a hardware company pulling from the market. Like if they can't make a Xbox Game Pass or a Valve type store work or an ecosystem, it
Yeah, they're
doesn't
probably not.
seem like they have a future in hardware. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think for sure if the Game Pass thing does not, obviously it's been a loss leader for them trying to get just
Yeah.
active users in it. If that doesn't play out in the long run, I don't know. That's gonna be rough for them, I think.
Yeah. I mean, they've even with a little. I understand like Phil Spencer being vague in what he said for a reason, but I think even that's enough to shake most gamer consumer confidence away from buying that console.
Yeah, especially if it's if you're going for the high end one, you know? Yeah. It really is PC, and Nintendo is in, like, the perfect spot right now to launch a new console.
100%.
Like,
Yeah. All they
they're
have to
gonna
do is
kill
say,
at
like,
this.
we've done good enough. People are going to be like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah, we have a new Mario Kart coming out this, you know,
Yeah. As long as
whatever.
they're like backwards compatibility,
Mhm.
digital backwards compatibility based on your username, if they can pull those things off,
They're gonna kill it this holiday if they can get it out, I think.
they are going to be the everything except PC market. And
Mhm.
even, I'll be honest, like, I don't like Sony's strategy has shifted too. Like, does it matter if you have a Sony console if a year and a half later their first party IPs are going to come at PC with infinitely better spec
Mhm.
and configuration, options. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And what do they got? Miles Morales and Forbidden West, and none of those. I mean, neither of those set the world on fire. You know what I mean? Like Neither of those are console killers. I would argue that the real next gen is going to start with GTA 6, and that will be on PC day one, right?
Boy, I would hope so. I mean, it never has been. That's the thing.
If they are not primarily focusing on PC after the 12-year success of 5, they're stupid.
I would think
PC
so.
is
Yeah.
where it's at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gaming is really weird right now. Even personally, I think, like, even for me, it's in that like situation where like I don't really care about consoles that much anymore either.
No, I mean, yeah, what's a gen at this point? Who
Yeah.
cares? We've been in it for 20 years almost, I feel like.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. I had wild expectations for what that thing was going to be today, and then the rumors that whatever Nintendo thing was going to happen today got kicked because of Phil Spencer. It's like, okay, maybe, but
That would be weird, right? Unless they're like maybe the Hi-Fi Rush trailer is in the new direct or
yeah,
something, you
that's
know?
true.
Like
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of Xbox, have you played Go Mecha Ball?
a little bit. My son played it more than I did. And yeah, it feels pretty good.
It does. Yeah, it's a pinball Sonic dual stick shooter roguelike.
Hmm.
Gachapon is your power ups.
Yeah.
I think the biggest detriment for me is the perspective slash board, or like the perspective slash like zoom angle, because there's so many enemies in that game that can rush from off screen, which I don't know. Like I kind of get it from a design element, because like they really intended it to be a game where like you just got to go fast and never stop moving. But at the same time, if you pause for like a split second, that can be the end of your game in a way that you did not anticipate or could not anticipate,
Yeah,
which is
right.
frustrating, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a very exhilarating arcadey twin stick shooter. It's, like I said, like the goal is you never stop moving. Like you have a cat who can morph into a pinball a la Sonic, has twin stick shooters, can also do like roll and collision damage. But the hard part is like you can never not be in the moment. Like you have to always be going. And if you can master that, super rewarding game. I love the gachapon rewards. I love the giant ant boss battles like that are so stupid. It's just super. It it super exaggerates every sense, like the music, the visuals, the
Yeah.
speed, the it's all very Twitch. Everything is very Twitch. It's a free game if you have Game Pass or included, I guess. And I'd say it's one of those things that you're gonna pick up like maybe not every day, but like if you've got like a good hour to spend, you're gonna have a good time with that.
Oh yeah. And it's the perspective thing is it's kind of like those Game Boy Tony Hawk games.
Yeah,
Like because it's got the ramps just kind of in an isometric uh perspective. And yeah, I think this might be the first twin stick game that my son has played, and he couldn't really wrap his head around that control.
sure.
And then you go into the pinball mode, or you turn into a pinball basically, and that doesn't you don't really use the secondary stick for that. So he was having a lot of trouble getting back on the the twin stick after he would roll around a little bit, because it was like, okay, we're not using this mechanism anymore. And then you come out of it and start shooting, and now you need both sticks. So he was making it way harder because he was just shooting wherever the character was facing.
Sure.
So that was like, wow, you're really making this more difficult for yourself because he's just rolling around just to get pointed the right way.
Yeah, it's like once you get in that groove though of like roll buff damage or like impact damage, grab the bullets, light them up, move to the next thing. Like it's a good rhythm, but there is a fair amount of like off-screen bullshit
Hmm.
that just takes this game down. And like I don't know that like a off-screen like indicator would have even fixed it. It's just they chose a very tight perspective that has negative impacts on the flow of the game, but at the same time I can't be too mad about it because like it is really stupid drop in fun, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I wonder if I mean you could have zoomed it out a little bit, but I think if you went too far,
it's too much.
then it's too much.
But none of the levels are like overly massive, so it's like I don't know. I think there was
Yeah.
probably some sweet ground in there, but maybe that's part of the challenge. I'm not sure. It's a really dumb
Yeah.
game, but fun.
The the roguelite stuff is more like you're buying the weapons that might show up on your run, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and the
that
abilities that you might like get between runs. But yeah, it is totally a roguelite. Like you start off with a set amount of damage. It's your choice between levels, what additions you grab, and it's all up to your reflexes as to how much you retain that health between runs. But it's
mhm.
super exhilarating when you hit like the first boss and stuff like that, and feels really fun.
Yep.
And like it's so disposable. Like you have a bad run, whatever. You're back, you
Right.
restart, you go again.
Yep.
So
Yep. And that's the perfect type of games that are on Game Pass.
yes.
Like that.
Yep.
I saw the new Turnip Boy game is on there and I need to
Ah.
dive into that. I played the first one and really like that game.
I played a little bit on cloud and it didn't run great, but
Yeah.
the humor was good.
Yep.
I
Yep.
also saw that like Brotato looks pretty good for that.
Hmm.
So
Boy, between that and Dadish, it's just like the vegetables are getting their day in the sun.
all the veggies, all the time. Have you played anything else?
Uh, I maxed myself out on Pal World, I think.
Yeah, I am level 20 something and I think I am probably okay with not revisit that. I don't know about you, but that game has been crashing horrendously for me
Oh, really?
recently, especially at my home base.
Oh,
When I'm going through menus, it hates menu switches with a full pal at the base. And like the last time we played, I was kicked 3 times and my son was kicked once, and then a second time, but that was because my game crashed. So
oh. So yeah, I only play on my own singular thing, so it's never looking online. That's probably
sure,
part of it.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I did hit level 50.
And that's the end.
I mean, you can't get any more right now anyway.
Sure,
I think I have one more tower to beat and maybe like two more things to catch, but other than that, I'm pretty much done. And I don't know, like the catching is no longer a mechanism that I'm doing. It's just
sure,
basically farm the stuff to get rockets for my rocket launcher. And then from what I can tell, you have to either be an absolute master or you have to start doing like breeding and like all of that stuff just to get enough attack power out of your guys to even beat the last few things,
sure.
which is good for people who want to stay in it longer, I guess. But I think I'm done with it for now, anyway.
Yeah, I mean I enjoy it, but I think I have reached the, the point where I'm like I don't know if I mean I might pop in on occasion, but I'm not going to actively continue. I don't think in that game because like you said, you're at 15, it's capped. I'm halfway there, and I'm
And it's
finding
way worse at the end.
well, yeah, because like I'm already hitting the point where it's like I spend more time grinding for mats, even with a pal army, than I do playing like the search and explore. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that was the fun part. So
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. And the AI, the PAL AI at the base is just awful. I can't stand it. They never do what you want to do, and they just
Oh,
they're
I
they're
find it
terrible.
awful in battle too. Like I play with a
Mhm.
guy. or I talked to a guy who I work with, and he's like, "No, I just go in, I own, I throw out the pals, and they do this." It's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I go into battles to throw out pals, and they sit there with their thumb up their ass,
Yeah.
and I get owned, and it's bullshit. So I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that I'm playing with another person constantly, but
No, they
yeah,
should be doing it right away.
it's all janky all the way around, which is part of the charm. But yeah,
But you're constantly like, oh, one guy is stuck on top of something and he's can't get to the
yeah, he's
food, and you have to,
starving, so you got to pick him up, and yeah,
yeah, or there's just a shitload of them just standing by your PAL box, so you can't even access it or fast travel or
and you have the
that.
questionable number 69 pal that has giant tits and a furry bush. Like, I saw what you did
I,
there, developers.
I
That's
didn't know that was
gross and weird.
69. Wow.
That's so gross. And like you read the
Sex.
bio, and it's like always looking for love. Have been known to breed with lots of pals, but also humans. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's some DeviantArt Mewtwo shit for sure.
Yeah, I saw there's been some scare today because a PAL merch creator or a PAL World independent merch creator got a DMC from Nintendo.
Huh.
So they're thinking that if they're doing that, they're probably going to take down the game. I
Hmm.
don't know. It is not a bad game. I just think I have seen at this point about what I need to see out of it. So
Yeah. I mean, the things we're complaining about, it's still early access, so like we can't
right.
be too critical of it, I guess. But I'll
Right.
I might go in there the next time they have a huge update or something. But
Yeah, yeah.
I
But
think that's the general sentiment a lot between a lot of people because I think it fell off the charts pretty big.
oh yeah, huge all around. The one game that I've been seeing a lot about, which I would love to dive into, but I'm a sad boy with no friends, is Helldivers 2. I don't know if you played Helldivers.
I didn't, but it's a totally different perspective this time, right?
Different perspective, similar concept. Helldivers came out on PlayStation Network, I think, at some point for free, but I was all into the concept, and it's a very the original Helldivers is very hardcore, very coordinated. I loved it, and the group of people I was playing it with got instantly fed up and were like, it was a 1 or 2 day thing, and we were done, which
Okay.
bummed me out because I loved it. But Helldivers 2 is the same thing, but even more Starship Troopers, and it's a I don't know if it's FPS or if it's a third person perspective, but it's more of the same with better graphics. And I've heard nothing but people praising it in the co-op sense, but I do not have 3 other people to jump into this game with, so I know I'm never gonna
Oh,
be able
so
to do it. But
you need 4, huh?
it's meant for 4. You can do it
Yeah.
solo, I've heard,
Oh,
but this is the type of game where like you want the chaos, right?
yeah.
So I
Huh.
don't know.
Is it on PC?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's killing it on Steam right now. But
See, that's PlayStation
yep,
first party,
PlayStation.
right?
Yep, PlayStation. Yep,
Wow, they launched on PC,
they
so
did. Yeah, yeah. It's supposed to be just fantastic. I know that I will never get to play it, but it's still like one of those things where it's like, man, I wish I had a group of people to do it. So
I'd be up for it, but like you said, then you need 2 other people.
right, yeah,
That's a tall order.
yeah. Everyone keeps talking about how it's just so over the top and like you're fighting for Super Earth, like just like the dumbest, like most over the top fucking Starship Troopers shit. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
Hopefully it
that would
has
be a
some
good
legs. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
feel like the first one was so niche, and this one is just kind of like hit at the right time and like a very low release year. So if they can keep it going, that'd be great.
Hey, they would love that too. I mean, I'm sure it's a live service plan already to that thing, so
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they've been on the record like dunking on other games are like, no, you have to earn the right to be like live service, games as a service. Like we're here to earn the player base and then we'll monetize off
Wow.
of it. So
Okay.
yeah.
Huh.
Very arrogant in their early success, but
Yeah. Huh.
we'll see.
I'm still playing Lethal Company at least once a week with
Are you?
some family members, and that's still going. But that's I cannot believe it. That was made by one guy,
Really?
and he. I mean, he's understandably cannot update that much,
Right.
and it's disappointing. You would think, you get that much money off a huge success that you would like kind of ramp up and be like, okay, let's make some content for this thing to keep people engaged. I'm still playing it, but I definitely feel like I've seen. I mean,
Right.
there's like Christmas shit in there still, and it's like and pumpkins, and it's like, well, okay, that's usually seasonal stuff. It goes away, but
Nah, you keep it. It's space. You don't know when the holidays are.
that's still a
Yeah.
good game. But yeah,
Yeah. I still want to try it, but I don't know. We'll see. Mario versus Donkey Kong comes out tomorrow, so probably gonna take all my time. So,
yeah, that $60 release on a remake of a $40 game.
that's $20 to buy used. I'd have rather seen Donkey Kong 64 remastered, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of things that people presumably love and are out, I watched that. I've never watched the Fargo series, mostly because I'm a native North Dakotan, and I fully understand that the first Fargo movie had absolutely nothing to do with Fargo and was not filmed in it whatsoever. And that weird Minnesota North Dakotan, don't you know, you betcha accent is bullshit. And like 1/100th of 1 millionth of the percentage of the population actually talks like that. So
We've both met people that do talk like that. They are out there, but
we can count them on one hand in our
yeah,
whole lives, though, right?
yeah.
So I'm not gonna. Yeah, to your point, that's true, but they're dying and or are dead. So I've avoided the Fargo series largely because of that. But everyone was like, "You gotta like this season 5. You gotta John motherfucking Ham." So whatever. I watched it. I did not like it. It's not. It's not my show. They start off in Minnesota with a couple of cast members who have the same obnoxious,
Mm.
not realistic accent, and it's really forced, really over the top. So immediately it took me out of it, and I was pissed. John Hamm continues to play a giant, unlikable fucking piece of shit, just like he did in Mad Men, which he's great at. But I don't know. I think it's the same thing for me as Game of Thrones, where it's just like everyone was like, it's the tippity top. You will not, and they set it so high that when I get in there, I'm like, this doesn't click. And I'm not a drama person so much either. Like when I go into media, my goal is to disengage from reality, and watching a mega fueled militia showdown against the FBI is a little bit too close to reality these days for me to be like,
Mm.
yeah, I enjoy diving into this. And
Yeah, I can see that.
it just I'm not gonna yuck anybody's yum, but no thanks. Plus it had the guy from Stranger Things. And he looked like a scary skinhead psychopath, and he kind of
Which
was. But
which one? The main kid?
no, the older guy who works at the ice cream shop. I forget what his name is. Dated the sister.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't remember his actual name. That's bad of
Yeah.
me, but he is in it, and like it took me 3 episodes to realize who he was. And then
Mm.
I've never watched any of the other series, but like there's a weird supernatural character guy who like somehow came over from England 400 or 500 years ago, but is still alive. So I asked somebody who watches that, and they're like, "Yeah, like every series, there's like this weird supernatural entity, but it's not a through line." And I'm like, I don't get it. So
What?
yeah, I don't
Huh.
know.
I think I watched the first season, and
Yeah,
it was good enough. It had a more toned down version of that accent. It was still there and kind of annoying, but I will say they kind of nailed like the passive aggressive like conflict resolution that
yeah.
I think is pretty present in our neck of the woods. But
I think what broke this one was like the main couple on the Minnesota side both had the yeah you betcha shit, but the husband, his mother was like a wealthy Minneapolis rubbing elbows type, and she had none of the accent.
mm,
So it was weird. Like maybe presumably the dad who wasn't in the show and was dead did, but there's some pretty good stuff. Like when the shit's going down, the mother-in-law calls. Like she's like, "Get the orange buffoon on the phone. Like I want to get my money's worth." There's some good shots at the fucking retardedness in our country, and
yeah,
some mega references. Like basically, it was like, John Hamm's character was essentially, you know, that guy. He's like, rally the troops, assemble the patriots, and it's like, we're
oh
coming
sure,
with you. Like you FBI, you better get the fuck out of here. It's like, dude, you're going up against the fucking FBI. Like, how high and mighty do you think you are? And it ends exactly as it would, and you would think it would. So,
mm,
but yeah,
well,
I don't know. It's great television. It's just in the election year that we're facing, I felt like I live this and this is the reality. I don't want to watch this like shown off like, and they're like, "Well, it happened in 2019 and everything is real except we changed names." And it's like, no, this is pretty close to what we live in, and it's bullshit now. I don't want to
yeah.
sit down and enjoy fake bullshit. So
Well, was it? Is it actually? Because like the original movie, it says this was a true story, and it
no,
never
it's not.
was. But
It is not. Yeah, the truest part of the original movie is that they have the wood chipper from the movie bolted to the ground at the visitor center in Fargo because we're too fucking stupid to realize that they like
it was the
shat on
commentary on
us.
it.
Yeah, like God, we're stupid. It should be a giant fucking bronze middle finger. Like we're not as retarded as you think we are. The rest of the
Yeah.
world. Eat my dick. Yeah, I didn't like it. I get why people would like it, but I struggled. My wife was like, "Let's finish it. We got 2 episodes left." I'm like, I don't want to watch anymore. I'm like, I'm
Mm,
done.
yeah.
So I don't know.
Hmm.
That's just me.
I saw somebody who did have a lot of praise for Fargo, the city,
Yes.
not the show.
And who might that be?
A member of Giant Bomb, Dan Reichert, he somehow ended up in Fargo as a joke, kind of.
Yeah, it was a "Catch Me If You Dan," right? It was the "Catch Me If You Can" pun, and they're like, "We'll fly you anywhere." Dude lives in Minneapolis. They flew him to Fargo, but yeah, he uh he genuinely loved it. Like he went to our buddy's CJ's place, replay games, filmed there. Went to Worst Beer Hall, a great place to eat. Went to the Pixeled Arcade, great place to go. And then sadly, he went to the Drucker Brewhalla, which is the most fart huffing, presumptuous, up your own ass socialite place in town, and had a great time, which good for him. But I hate the thing. But like, I can't be mad at him because he came to Fargo unannounced, filmed everything, had a very positive reaction. Didn't do the yeah you betcha bullshit. Didn't do the snowblower thing. Didn't do the fucking flappy hat thing. Like he just genuinely depicted the town in a positive light and summed it up in a positive way. Has continued on every podcast he's been on this week to say what a great time he had, and I think it's about all you can ask. Plus, he's the most Fargo-ish looking fuck in games media, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Completely bald, giant Viking beard, and yeah, it was great.
The the fact that he went to Brawlhalla during the hot dish
Yes,
competition, and he's like, "I've never had hot dish," and I'm like, "Dan, you this is how have you not? That is
it's
it's cheese and
pasta.
noodles." Yeah.
Yeah, I also love that when he was at Worst Beer Hall, some guy walked in with a copy of Air Force Gator. What are the odds that anyone in Fargo has a copy of Air Force Gator?
Yeah. Wow.
Which, for anyone who doesn't know, like Dan Reichert is an insane man who has written two books in the Air Force Gator series, which is basically like Air Force One, except it's a gator who is in the military and wears sunglasses. And an alligator is what we mean. It's the dumbest shit imaginable.
And somehow makes fun of Jose Canseco or something.
Yes. And both those books, he's got 5, I think, total, but both those Air Force Gator books are like above a 4.5 Amazon review rating, which is shocking.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool. Like I immediately like saw the replay games thing too. I was like, holy fuck. And I text our buddy CJ, I was like, holy shit, Dan Reichert was in your store. He's like, yeah, it was wild. We were doing like an 80-man Smash tournament, and he just like walked in. And I was like, that is fucking nuts.
Yeah. Did he talk to him for a while or
I
not really?
didn't get that into it. I was like, that is wild. I wish I would have
Yeah.
known because I was in town that weekend. And it's like, of
Yeah.
all the places I probably would have popped into on a weekend, like Replay, Pixel, like that whole strip down there, because I go to the Little Brothers, like my favorite restaurant in town. We go to it like once every couple of weeks, and it's right next to Replay. And yeah, I could have totally ran into that guy, and I didn't. I don't know what
Yeah.
I said other than like, "You're Dan." All right, great. I'm,
Well,
just like gushed.
well, that was the funniest part is like people recognized him, which was surprising how many people did, and then they're just
Yes.
like, "Why are you here?"
Yeah. But I mean, knowing that, well, I mean, if you didn't know that he lived in Minneapolis now, but like knowing he lives in
Yeah.
Minneapolis, it makes kind of sense. But
I wouldn't have expected him to fly there, but
right, yeah.
but
Even when he's like, "This is my first time in a Dakota," and then I like how he tried to go to like that segment where he goes to the Fargo Dome. He's like, "Yeah, I tried to like talk to their media manager and get like a." I'm like, dude, no,
not
like
gonna fly here.
it's a monster truck rally, and this is North Dakota. Like you're fucked. Yeah, it was great.
Yep. Highly recommend watching that. It was pretty good.
Yeah, Giant Bomb, Catch Me If You Dan. Pretty
I
much
would be
just anything
totally up
Dan
for that.
Reichert does. Like
Oh yeah.
that guy is insane. I mean, I miss the days of the Beast Cast when that was a thing, and he was still in the Beast Cast. He's like, yeah, I just bought this new house. He's like, I don't know, like, I just don't know how to like hang anything because, like, do I put a nail in? Am I gonna die? And Vinny's just like, wait, Dan, are you saying that you think electrical just runs all throughout the walls, and if you permeate the walls, you are going to die? He's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, the man is a giant 40-year-old man child, and it's some of the best content for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That well, did you see he actually filled his bathtub full of macaroni out of that
No, I
hole?
didn't. But when I watched that video and he ordered the mac and cheese, then the quote just ran in my head like, butthole adjacent mac and cheese is still mac and cheese. It's like, dude. I think that's what I would, like, before hello, I would have walked up to him and just said, butthole adjacent mac and cheese is still mac and cheese. And he'd have probably been very terrified, and then maybe
Yeah.
So I didn't realize he actually did the experiment though.
Mhm.
Just
I
the
don't think
noodles
they
or
ate
with the cheese?
I think the cheese too.
Oh, good lord!
I don't
Did he
think I
sit
don't
in
know if
it
they
and eat it?
I don't know what they did with it. I just saw the picture that they did, but
Yeah. For context, he's back. So he left Giant Bomb back in the day to go to like AEW or WWE, and then he has come back as the new Giant Bomb, which basically flushed the actual Giant Bomb down the toilet and
yeah.
its creator for the second time. But they had an episode of the Fire Escape cast, which Dan is on, which is independent of that network, and they had a episode of the podcast where they would talk about like theoretically, it's like you had to get into a bathtub and fill it with whatever food you want of your choice, but you cannot leave the bathtub until you've eaten all of the food in it, and you get like I don't know, like $1 million. And they were like all hypothesizing about like what would be the best thing. And Dan Reichert, in his infinite wisdom, was like, I just love mac and cheese. Like I would just fill it with mac and cheese. And like, but you have to sit in that for the whole time, and it's gonna be touching everything, including your butthole. And his response was, butthole adjacent mac and cheese is still just mac and cheese. I'm like, no. Plus, this is a like multi-day potentially experience. Like, do you want to drink your piss out of mac and cheese or eat your shit
Oh
out of mac
boy.
and cheese?
Yeah,
Like,
that conversation went in a lot of places where like this is funny and then it turned into like I don't know if I can listen to this part anymore.
yeah. The right answer, as far as I'm concerned, is still watermelon
Oh yeah, for sure.
because the only edible parts are encased in a hard outer rind, and your feces and urine can just flow freely throughout. I mean,
The
I think
the
I've been
pro
solved.
the problem is that watermelon is I mean, yes, I think that's the right answer, but on the other side, it is just liquid and fiber. That is the only thing that makes up watermelon.
So you're gonna be pissing constantly after the first one?
And shitting, yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be
that's a
bad.
good point. Still think it's the right way to
Yeah, not mac and cheese or Skittles like he's thought.
go. I was watching the Bad Friends podcast, and they brought on one of their promoters, Bobby Lee and Santino, and the guys, the promoter was like, "My favorite thing in life to do is to just get super high, and then I turn off all the lights, and I just have a bag of sour Skittles, and just concentrate on sucking sour Skittles." And those two were just like dying laughing at this guy. He's like, "But it becomes a problem because you suck on too many, and then you get canker sores." And they're like, "Wait a
Oh,
minute, you mean to tell us that you sit alone in a room with the lights off?" With music on, and all you do is suck on sour Skittles. And he's just like, yes, it's the best thing ever. I'm like, oh my god, he's great. Should have seen the guy too. It was hilarious. Yeah. X-Men '97. What's that about?
that's a series coming to Disney Plus,
No, it's
animated.
not. Is it?
It's supposedly picking up right from the '90s X-Men cartoon.
Are they gonna do the
Yeah. So
same intro?
yep. So they had a trailer and they was running the music in it, and I don't remember how that ended, but it sure seems like Xavier dies. I don't I don't think I've ever gotten to the end.
I feel like it was one of those shows that they showed it regularly in the afternoon TV, and then it was off the air so fast that it was tough to catch in order. You know what I mean? Like that was like
I
back before TiVo and all that shit. And
I think it is even like the content itself is kind of out of order. Like
okay,
even if you try and figure out how to put them all in order, there's still context that doesn't make any sense. But
so they're gonna like try to pretend like it just continues from there.
yeah, I don't know if they're the original voice actors, but it sounds like it, you know, same type of voice acting anyway. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah,
My kids might be into that.
they'll integrate the Fortnite guys now too. So
Yep.
everyone's
Yep.
gonna be doing the floss in episode 5.
hmm Wolverine's got to be in Fortnite, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean if he isn't already, right?
Right.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I think that's like the one thing. Even if you're like the comic kid, like everybody remembers that game. Well, that
Yep.
series and the game because it like hit just perfectly.
hmm
Like greatest beat 'em up in arcades, plus like one of the coolest shows on TV. So
Yep. Yeah, X-Men out of everything is my favorite. So if they ever actually get back to that in the movies, I think I'd be kind of back on board with all the Marvel stuff because lately, I haven't watched any of that shit anymore. But
has Sony given any of that up yet though? Because it was Sony who had the X-Men rights, right?
I think Fox had it. So Disney bought
Oh, it was
Fox.
Fox, right? Yes, they got
So
bought out.
they technically have them back, I think. But
They'd have to reboot, right?
I mean, I know the like Hugh Jackman's in the new Deadpool movie.
Right, which is weird because he said he was done after Logan, right? But there's a
You know,
Logan 2 still coming, isn't there?
oh really?
I think so.
How is that even
I don't
possible?
know. He's dead.
I don't know. Huh.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Disney 1.5 acquisition of Epic is
That's
that
something
could go
too. Yeah.
places or it could go nowhere.
Hmm.
Because that's not a huge stake in Epic, but yeah, you wonder.
I know I'm going to bring up the Dreamlight Valley minute of this. I'm sure those developers are like, fuck, no,
I don't want our
that's not good
princesses
for
in
us.
Fortnite. That's bad. Yeah. I'm just picturing Little Mermaid like running through Fortnite and like throwing flounders like a projectile. That's all I can think about.
You know it'll be separate. They're not going to let. Well, I guess the Marvel stuff is in there, but they're fine with that.
Yeah.
But kind of like Lego is kind of like, yeah, it's in Fortnite, but it's not in Fortnite. You
And
know.
Guitar Hero is in Fortnite, but it's not really, even though we're still making a peripheral for it. So,
Mm. Oh, really? I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah, there's a
Wow.
guitar peripheral. Yeah.
Jeez.
Uh-huh. It's an epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, are we at staff picks?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll go first because mine's not that interesting. But
You said,
everyone remember the band Kitty from 1999?
oh yes, yeah.
The new metal band, and everyone loved Brackish, and then everyone forgot they existed.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people forgot they existed because they got lumped in with new metal, and then continued to just be like hardcore metal from there on out. It got dropped from their label. Well, they got signed by Sumerian Records and are now putting out new music, and they have a new single called Eyes Wide Open, and it is fucking metal as fuck, and there's no clean vocals, and it
Really?
was awesome. I think they timed it right, and like they were still on people's radar enough through recent metal fests, and then in my mind anyway, the success of like Spirit Box, which is on Rise Records, which I don't know, like if you're a metal person, your Rise or Sumerian, right? Like those are the two labels you go to if you're
Mm.
not like a mainstream, which they're big labels anyway. So like to me, I'm just like it's funny that they signed the original Spirit Box to compete with the emerging Spirit Box. Is it's kind of how I envision it. But yeah, it's a good single. It dropped a couple days ago. Eyes Wide Open. It's good. Kitty. I mean, they went hard as fuck after like most of those new metal bands went, how can we be on the radio more? And Kitty was like, how the fuck can we be more disgusting and guttural and heavy? And I think that's why they didn't have like a mainstream career, but their music was never not good. And this is a very good single. So
I've honestly never heard anything they did after that
yeah.
original stuff.
Yeah, most people didn't. I think, they still had the major label for the second album, which got some MTV play, but then after that, MTV was basically dead by 2000
Hmm.
whatever. And yeah, Eyes Wide Open is a great single. Kitty is a great band, so check it out. It's on YouTube.
Yep. Huh. Well, when I first saw your thing, I read it as Eyes Wide Shut, and I'm like, we're talking about that movie. That's gonna be,
Dude, I unironically loved the shit out of that movie when I was a kid too.
oh yeah,
Like
well,
watched it
especially when
so
you're a
many
kid.
times. Yeah, yeah.
Fast forward to a specific part.
Yes, yes. That might have been a reason why I liked it so much. Who knows? Yeah.
Uh, no, that's cool though. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. Huh.
How about you?
Mine was, for some reason, I watched this 80s movie called Leviathan, which is just 100% alien in like underwater mining facility instead of like
It sounds familiar.
spaceship.
Yeah. Is it great?
Uh, no, I mean it's a B movie level, I would say,
Sure.
but not as B movie as the other movie we're going to talk about later. But
Yeah.
it's got Peter Weller, which is like RoboCop, Ernie Hudson. So there's some names in there. Um,
I've definitely like I'm getting flashbacks. Like I've definitely seen this. It's been forever though.
yeah,
Like I feel
it's
a kid as like a USA or TBS sort of thing.
oh yeah, this is definitely seems like a cable movie that was
Yeah.
on all the time. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's basically it's alien. It's a monster. You know, something comes on the ship and it's spreading and it's bursting out of people's bodies, and it kind of turns into the end of Inside. That thing.
No.
That's kind of what that monster kind of turns into a little bit.
Terrific.
Um, and for the most part, I mean, it is 100% straight alien ripoff. Like they're following the beats, the same characters, the same Marines act the same way. Um, and then they play pretty straight, and it's like, yeah, this is just a good act, that type of movie. And then the last 5 minutes, I don't know if they just decided to do it as a joke, but I'm gonna spoil this, old movie, but
How dare you? It's been 30
yeah,
years.
the main white character and the main white lady and one black guy, Ernie Hudson, make it to the surface. The monster has been
I bet that black guy's gonna be all right.
the monster is at the bottom of the sea, nothing to worry about, right?
Yep.
There's helicopters out looking for these people for the rescue and everything.
I've 100% seen this movie. Yes. Okay, I know where you're
And,
going.
and then, oh no, there's sharks. There's sharks everywhere. And they're all worried about the sharks and everything. And then all of a sudden the sharks are not a problem. Whatever. Then the helicopter comes,
Mhm.
and then the big monster comes up, just splashes out of the ocean, grabs Ernie Hudson and just says, "Yeah, you're dead now." Um
That
Robo
is burned into my brain.
Yep.
Yes.
And RoboCop comes over with some bomb that I don't know where he got it from. There's no I don't think there was any foreshadowing of this thing at all.
Hmm.
And he's just like, "Say hello," and he like throws it in his mouth and it blows up and then they ride
Which
off
isn't
and
from
it's
another movie on the sea
no.
either. Yeah.
No. And yeah, that was the last 5 minutes I was laughing pretty hard because it was just
Yeah,
like
because that's in like a surface like cage and like there's a perimeter with like metal piping around it, right? I'm pretty
I don't
sure.
I don't remember if I saw that part or not.
Maybe not.
Because they came up from their suits and they
Okay.
just like which
Yes.
you would have been like crushed by the pressure, and that you would
Yeah.
have had a serious case of the bends pretty bad if you tried to do
I
that.
definitely remember the Ernie Hudson being attacked thing, like 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love how they're just like, oh no, sharks, just for the fun of it, just in the middle there.
Well, you gotta
Not
add
a problem.
suspense until the monster comes up off the
Yeah,
bottom. Yeah.
yeah.
Sounds great. What did you watch this on?
Tubi,
Okay.
because this was, yeah. There's another reason why we're on there, but
Spoilers. Subscribe to the Patreon on Geekade, and you
yes,
can find out why.
yes,
It'll be worth it, especially if you're a Christmas Story fan.
yes,
Well, is it buy rent burn time?
absolutely.
All right, buy rent burn. We pick a game for a given system. We play it individually, and at the end of discussing it, we decide if we would personally buy, rent, or burn said game. We are talking about pro wrestling on the good old NES. This is an early black box title.
Hmm.
Andy brought it up for this week, and I didn't mention it while he picked it. But I actively despise this
I
game. I always
I
have
didn't know this.
as an
Didn't know it.
NES collector. I've never won a match. Still, in revisiting this, have never won a match. I can't stand it. I cannot. So it's an unlicensed WWE style game. I guess wrestling at this point in time, and probably still is in Japan, was equally popular with like more no name, not no
Mm-hmm.
name, but non international characters. It appears to have all the things, right? Like it's got the ropes, it's got the corner jumps, it's got the throwing outside the ring. I don't. There's no folding chairs or anything, but it's it's pretty goddamn impressive in its versatility in the match for a black box era game. That said, I'm still awful at it. Cannot win for the life of me, and I hate it. What do you what are your thoughts, Andy?
I I was having a lot of trouble with it too.
Okay.
I will say I think it is one of the most impressive looking black box
Oh,
games.
100%. Probably the best.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what they got all on the screen. I mean, there's commentators. The camera guy is at the bottom constantly following the action. Like they
Crowd.
really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really did like the aesthetic stuff to what a pro wrestling match would look like. Whereas like I feel like even if I was programming that game even today, I wouldn't even think about that stuff. You know, I would be like, I'm just focusing on the match. You know, the
Yeah.
fighting. But they went the extra mile on that, and to be that early in the NES to do that was pretty impressive. Um, yeah, and like you, I was having a lot of trouble trying to win any matches because I felt like the kicks were really hard to land if you didn't have the right timing. The grapples just seemed like they were like 50-50 on if you were even going to start a grapple, and then if you got the move on it.
Well,
Um,
and just the fact that you're starting out against Starman, who's a giant like pink unitard wearing dude with a star face. It's like super defeating to be beaten by him and time and time
oh,
again.
well, I have a favorite wrestler.
Is it Starman? It's Starman, isn't it? Go on.
Yes, Starman is broken in this game. I found a combo that was absolutely broken,
Okay.
which once I discovered that, I beat the game, and I think I could have went forever because I don't know if the AI could ever get off of it. It was basically to run across the ropes, and he has a move that you just jump at the other character and just knock him over.
Okay.
So as long as you had that lined up, you could just do it over and over and over. You could even pick him up and kick him and lay him down, and then you know
Come back. Yeah.
yep, just do it over and over and over. And yeah, I went undefeated. I
Wow. I
yeah.
mean, I believe it. He kicked my ass every time. So,
Yep. Yeah, I
but I
don't know
mean,
who he is. Like Starman is like obviously some of them are like, oh, this is Ric Flair, this is
yeah.
whatever, but
Starman just brings me back to my first year at MGC when like they had the cosplay contest and the guy like came out dressed as Starman in like the unitard and like had the whole outfit. It was so great. And then he was like dancing with Pikachu up on the stage with Beaker. Good. But I mean, like you kind of touched on like some pretty important things. Like this is a black box NES game. It has grapple. It has ropes physics. It has like the pin maneuvers. It has the off the post maneuvers. It has the out of bounds. Like it is so
every
much.
character has different moves.
Yeah, it is so much more in depth than it has any right to be. It's kind of amazing for
I,
such
I,
an early title.
I think it has blood. Like
Does it?
I was the swamp monster guy, and looked like I was eating. I was like biting the top of a head of a guy, and it was like red stuff coming off of the top of his head. I don't know what else it would
That's
be.
yeah, I'm sure not blood. Nintendo wouldn't like that.
It's
Hair.
not real blood.
No, it's
It's,
fine.
everybody knows it's fake.
Yeah, I could. It's funny because like I for the life of me could not beat Starman because it's always like that playing character guy against Starman. Like if you don't change anything, and I just like
Oh
one
yeah.
player, I'm going, and every fucking time, like I got it this time. Like I'm kicking his ass, and then I'd pin him 20 times, and he pinned me once, and I was done. You know, it's like rage quit after three
Yep.
or four rounds. So
But most characters you can get in a if you can get the kick timing down, like you can just just pick them up, kick them, pick them up, kick them
Right.
for a long time. But if you once you get out of that combo, it's tough to get back in sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's as much as I don't like the gameplay, like it's hard to dismiss what they brought to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I couldn't imagine if this was the game I bought right away. It would have blew my mind, you know? I mean, Mario Brothers is pretty amazing too.
I mean, this is definitely better.
Graphically, yeah, I think.
It's supposed to be a joke. You're supposed to laugh at
I,
that, but you're
no,
like, nah,
I
it's
think
probably the best.
I think graphically it's probably better.
It probably is. I would agree with you.
It's got more stuff to do in it. I mean, Mario controls one way, but
Mm. Are we really gonna get into a Mario Brothers versus pro wrestling debate right now? Is that where we're at in this podcast?
Starman would kick Mario's ass.
Starman has probably been ROM hacked into Mario Brothers, and that would probably be all right.
Oh yeah.
Starman is essentially the blueprint for Filthy Frank, which is just the blueprint for Joji. So technically, Starman is still killing it
Yeah.
to this
I
day.
was thinking Pepsi Man. Like I thought
Oh,
that's
yeah,
the same guy. He got an endorsement.
could be. Switch out his unitard, half silver, half black or blue. Yeah, really killing it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is probably a pointless buy rent burn rating, but what do you give it?
I think I'm leaning by.
Yeah,
Um once I was getting better and better before anyway. I think even before I found the Starman hack, I think I would have figured out a way to win at least one match.
yeah.
Um but yeah, graphically it's a really good experience on the NES. I think the music could be better. It's not the greatest music, but
It's a little simple. It gets the job done though. It could have used some
yeah.
more crowd ambience for sure.
Mhm. It definitely sounds like the crowd is like the same Punch Out crowd kind of,
Yeah.
but what do you expect, I guess?
Yep. I'm gonna burn it. Shouldn't surprise anybody. I hate this fucking game. I appreciate what it did. I don't want to play it ever again. I won't. It's not my thing. I'm sorry. It's fine.
Do you have you I mean, did you ever enjoy the 64 ones?
Nope.
Like, did you get into those at all?
The 64 is my most loathed system. Do you think I played
Sure.
any of the rest? No, I never played one.
Yeah, probably not.
Games. No.
Okay.
I played the demo for some of like the wrestling games on PlayStation just because I subscribed to PlayStation Magazine, but even then,
Oh, sure.
yeah, not. And I never got into pro wrestling. I mean, I casually did, right? Like everybody loves the Hulk and that shit, but like I was never the kid that watched it regularly, so
Right.
it was never my jam. And like I don't know, the gameplay feels clunky because the whole thing's clunky, right? Like it's a soap opera, but yeah, in visiting it again this time, I can say that there's some technical aspects that are really cool, but it doesn't make it more fun for me. So
No. I mean, it's not, and it's only impressive because of how early it is. I
yeah,
mean,
100%.
obviously, they've mastered things way beyond that
Yeah,
in the coming
there
years.
were like
but
what, like 4 or 5 WWE and like WCW
Tecmo had
tie-ins, I
one.
think.
Yeah, there was a bunch of wrestling. I think the people that made this game, I think they went on to do the Fire Pro
Oh, sure.
wrestling stuff.
That makes
But,
sense. They had a good foundation.
yeah. So
Which
they,
Fire
I
Pro
think,
was wildly popular.
mhm.
It continues to be overseas, and then like there's been some crossover over here recently, but
Yeah, I think Fire Pro. I think they even made a new one recently. I don't know, but
which is mostly famous for its ability to like build your own
make whoever you
wrestler
want.
to some
Yeah,
absurd extent, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That,
Well,
it's not too often that we go on opposite sides.
yeah, to polar extremes, right?
Yeah, yeah. Huh.
Maybe we should actually wrestle to see who's the true winner in this case.
Shit, that means I have to get into that leather suit.
I'll dress up like Tingle. It'll be great.
uh,
Uh,
all right, so yeah, let us know if you like pro wrestling, because I think one of us is right and one of us is wrong, obviously.
100%. That's how the world works.
Yeah.
There's no
So
common middle ground.
no, absolutely none. Um, so you could email us at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. You can tell us on Twitter as well. But until next time, be kind, rewind.